Carlo, thank you for taking the time to join me on my little channel. As most people watching me probably know, I've obviously been covering the SBF FTX debacle for quite some time, but I'm no lawyer, and Carlo here is an actual attorney. A lot of people are curious about what might happen to the co-defendants in the case. So Caroline Ellison, Gary Wang, and Nishad Singh, for
Right.
example. Do you have any estimates of what could happen or how long they might go to prison for?
So that is the wild card in this case. From talking with colleagues, the Southern District of New York, when it comes to their recommendations for cooperation, when it comes to witnesses that put their neck out on the line and testify at trial, they can be very generous with those reductions. They want to reward that kind of behavior. Now, the way that will go down is all of those defense lawyers who represent those witnesses are going to confer with the government. The government's going to meet in a committee. It's usually called a 5K committee. The 5K is the substantial assistance reduction that's awarded at sentencing. The committee is going to meet and decide what is a fair thing to do for Caroline Ellison, for Singe, for the other defendants that testified. When the committee makes their decision, then they're going to file a motion for a 5K reduction at sentencing. Ultimately, Judge Kaplan is going to decide what the appropriate sentence is. So even if the government comes in and says, we think Caroline Ellison should get probation because her testimony and her substantial assistance to the government was vital to us getting a conviction in this case of SBF, and therefore we believe she should get a substantial benefit. If Judge Kaplan feels otherwise, he has the full discretion. Also, the defense lawyers, Caroline Ellison's lawyer can ask for even greater departure than what the government is recommending. The ultimate call is with the federal judge.
Mm. And I've heard from many people that it's very likely that they'll get out of this with no prison time. Does that seem like a high likelihood to you?
You know, it does. It depends on the quality of the cooperation, and you definitely increase your chances of getting that kind of a break substantially if you testify at trial. If you testify at trial and put your neck out on the line and subject yourself to cross-examination, and you help the government fill in critical gaps in the case, because let's face it, the incentive for these cooperators to come forward is because the government can generally have a difficult road to prove things like intent, knowledge of this scheme to defraud without the inner circle witnesses who can clarify what was Bankman's state of mind when he wrote that email. You can't speculate about his state of mind, but you can certainly say, well, I had conversations with him. I was dumbfounded that he wanted to do this, but it's his company. You know, we even had some people inside the company who kind of, I got the impression, were already sort of preparing for cooperation in their phone calls with Sam. I almost got the sense that they were kind of thinking, I'm going to need this recording sometime down the line to get myself out of the grease. So
Yeah.
I think
All the
in this case, it's a very
screenshots.
good possibility.
I mean, it is crazy to me that they could get out with 0 jail time potentially. I mean, I understand that the government wants to give the incentive to cooperate, but just 0 jail time just seems wild to me.
Well, keep it in perspective too, Tiffany, because they'll be on probation. So they're going to have supervision. They're also going to be convicted felons. In the federal system, when you plead guilty, even if you get probation on a felony offense, it comes with a mandatory conviction. So Caroline Ellison's career prospects going forward are very limited because she will be on supervised release through the government. She will have to report to probation, and she'll be a convicted felon, which means that's going to limit her job prospects going forward.
That's true. Oh, you've been the perfect person to ask about this. I mean, we were literally in court at Sam Bankman-Fried's trial together.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Perfect person to ask. Where can people find you or follow you?
Yeah. So I'm on Twitter, Defi Defense Law, and that is probably the #1 way to follow me. Also, if anyone is interested in more information about me, you can always check me out at defidefenselawyer.com or cryptocriminaldefenselawyer.com. And I'm always, always, always happy to come on shows and talk and educate the community. I also have my own show that you were kind enough to join me on, LexLine.
Yesterday.
That is on the Rug Radio platform, and I do that as a weekly Twitter Space interview. So those podcasts are available as well. You can check them out on either Apple, iTunes, or Spotify at LexLine.
In case you've never heard of me before, I've been independently covering fraud and bankruptcies in the crypto space. Because of this, I know a lot of people who follow me or might recognize me were once customers of FTX. Well, that's where FTX Creditor comes in. FTX Creditor will buy your FTX bankruptcy claim and pay you immediately in USDC. FTX Creditor has actually bought more FTX claims than all of the other claims buyers combined. FTX Creditor even buys small claims as low as $1,800, all the way up to claims as large as $10 million. So if you're interested in selling your FTX claim for immediate liquidity, or in selling your Voyager, BlockFi, or Celsius stub, you can go to ftxcreditor.com or contact them on Telegram at @FTXCreditor or on X at @FTXCreditor_com.
Yeah, absolutely could pull it off without my math degree. Use very little math. Use a lot of elementary school math. Being comfortable with risk is very important. We tend not to have things like stop losses. I think those aren't necessarily a great risk management tool. I'm trying to think of a good example of a trade where I've lost a ton of money. Well, I don't know. I probably don't want to go into specifics too much with that.